Hey everybody, little background noise today, probably a lot of background noise today. Video's shaking like crazy. My apologies up front. I've never done this before. For all I know, this is going to go in the trash. But I've got something on my mind, and I'll be completely frank with you. I don't know when I'm going to have time to record this podcast, except right now, I am 30 minutes from home, and I've got time. I'm driving. I'm doing nothing else but driving. So here you go, right? So I apologize for the noise. I did a little test video before, and I think it was doable if you have a lot of patience with me. So thank you for having a lot of patience with me. I have something on my mind because something just happened to me about an hour ago, and I've just been contemplating what happened. And I thought, you know what, this would actually be a good topic for any appraiser out there, because I think we have all we've all found ourselves in a situation that could become sticky. And the question arises, what should you do? I'm going to let the cat out of the bag right away and say the title of this podcast is likely going to end up, no amount of money is worth being stupid. I want to remind you first, we are sponsored by Anow Software. When this thing happened that I'm about to tell you about, I immediately sent a message to my office, and I said, I want you to put notes in Anow, and this is what I want you to write in there. So I dictated that to them, and they put that in Anow. We now have a permanent note, which is awesome. I love that about Anow. I'll talk to you more about that in just a second, but you can go right now to anow.com/coach. It's anow.com/coach. Well, welcome to the mini-sode on the road. Who knows? Maybe this will turn out just fine, and we'll do this in the future. I doubt it, and I know half of you have already turned this off, but hopefully I've teased you enough with what happened to me today that you'll stick in there for just a few minutes more. Okay, let me set this up by taking you back about 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I was approached on an assignment that was very challenging, very difficult. I knew right up front it was going to be a very difficult job, so I bid it accordingly. I'll just tell you what I bid it, $2,500. And I did that based on my formula that I use when I do bids, which is basically I know what I make per hour. I could estimate pretty well what this is going to take me hourly to do, and I bid it accordingly, not actually thinking that I would get the job, but I got the job. You know how that works. I'll be honest with you though, when I bid something, I do bid it in such a way that if I get the job, I'm glad to have the job. I don't bid things, where when I get the job and I get the bid, I go, ooh, dang, I should have doubled that fee. And there's a lesson in that as well, and it was one that took me a long time, honestly, to learn. But I've learned it. I still make mistakes here and there as far as bidding goes, but for the most part, we're on it. So 6 months ago, bid this job out, $2,500. I was pretty spot on. It actually took me a little less time than I anticipated. So, hey, bonus, right? And so I did the job. I turned it into Bank A. We'll call them Bank A. Everybody's going to remain anonymous here. Turned it into Bank A, no problems. They might have come back with one or two items that they needed. Let me just tell you, it was a very high-end home in a very rural area that had no comparables. None. I had to go back in time. I had to go long distances. I had to make some heavy-duty adjustments. I felt very good about the adjustments that I made. I had a strong work file. Turned it into Bank A. Again, no major issues. They may have come back with a thing or two. But about, 3 weeks later, I got a call from Bank B. And Bank B starts to ask me questions about the appraisal. And I start thinking to myself, wait a second. Didn't I do that for Bank A? I know you guys have been in this situation, right? So I did the standard, hey, you know what? I really like you, Bank B. You're a great client of mine, Bank B. I've worked with you for a long time, Bank B. I would love to help you out, Bank B, but Bank A actually is the client on this. And the guy interrupted me and said, actually, we are now. Okay. What do you mean you are now? oh, well, Bank A gave us the appraisal. No, actually, I take that back. What he said was, we're doing the review on the appraisal for Bank A. Okay, fine. It was a high dollar property. They're outsourcing the review. That's fine. But that doesn't make you my client, right? And I do like Bank B, by the way. They're an A client, actually. So I very professionally, very kindly explained to the gentleman that, I would love to answer his questions, but I can't really do that because Bank A rather is my client. And he said, well, I'll tell you, my biggest concern is, such and such and such, and the problem I have is you don't have the support in there for such and such and such. And I said, well, yeah, I understand that. My support, as my report talks about, is in my work file. Well, send us your work file. Yeah, can't really do that. Let's just say that the guy he was professional, he was nice, he was kind, but he didn't like that answer, okay? I won't finish the rest of that story because it doesn't really apply to the story that's about to come. Let's just say that it didn't turn out well for our relationship. I think our relationship will be fine long term, but in the immediacy of the situation, he didn't appreciate the fact that I wasn't willing to share my work file with him. Okay. I want to pause here and talk a little bit about ANow software. When I come back, I want to finish this story and tell you the update today, and hopefully there's a lesson to be learned here. Speaking of ANow software, again, this story played into it very well. The great thing about ANow software is they have a notes section in every single appraisal, desktop, drive-by, multifamily, review, you name it. Anything that we do for any company, we leave notes on the system. Love that about ANow. The reason I love that is we can know exactly what's going on with any report at any time. Now, I've got multiple staff members in my office. And so if Jessica's in the morning and she does something on a report, when Jana gets in the afternoon, she never has to call Jessica at home and say, hey, Jessica, what's going on this report? No. She knows exactly what's going on because ANow software. Folks, if you've not tried ANow, you need to. It's anow.com/coach. Once again, it's anow.com/coach. Try them out. I promise you will be impressed. I promise you will feel like the fee that you're paying to be a part of ANow is not a cost, but it's an investment. Check them out right now. It's anow.com, anow.com/coach. Okay, folks, we are back and talking about this story. So about 6 months ago, Bank A, no problem with my appraisal. Bank B, the review bank, had problems with my appraisal, wanted my work file. I didn't have permission from Bank A to share it. Consequently, Bank B was not very happy with me, okay? I think it's important to the story to just recognize that Bank B, again, I've already made this point, but I'm going to make it again. Bank B is a powerhouse. I've been with them for over 10 years. They're very good to work with, but they felt like they needed to sanction me, if you will. I won't go any further than that, other than to say they slapped me on the hands. Okay, they thought that I should have put more support in the report and less support in the work file, if that makes sense. Again, I know, summary report, it is what it is, okay? They're a good enough client. I didn't push the envelope. They slapped me on the hands. I took the sanction, what have you, whatever. Okay, fast forward to today. Last week. Last week we got a request to change the original report, okay? Now, I know what you're saying. New assignment, Dustin. Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's what we told them. New assignment. They basically, this was a house on a lot of acreage, and they basically took some of that acreage away. They wanted me to do a new construction hypothetical on lower acreage, same everything else. I'll just tell you what I quoted them, $1,700. It's only been a few months. The comps are going to be basically the same, but because of the issues that we had with the review, because I knew that there was going to be some work involved, what's happened to the market in the last 6 months, have there been any other sales, crossing my T's, dotting my I's, learning from the first experience. I thought, maybe I should put a little bit more support in the report. The support's there, but maybe I should put some more support in the report rather than the work file. We went ahead and accepted it with condition, and that condition was that number one, it was a high fee. Number two, that they recognized that this was a new inspection, this was a new appraisal, that we would reference back the old appraisal because we've done a valuation in the last 3 years, but this was going to be a new assignment. They agreed to that. I went out to the property today. I met the borrower, still a vacant piece of land. We're doing a hypothetical build, but they haven't started construction, haven't even broken ground yet. So it basically looked exactly like it did 6 months ago, other than the weather's changed a little bit here in Idaho. I had a talk with the borrower. The borrower indicated that he thought I was there for Bank B. And I said, no, I'm here for Bank A. And he goes, no, you're not. You're here. We're not doing anything with Bank A. We're doing our loan through Bank B now. Okay. I called the office. I got a confirmation. The order came from Bank A. I informed him. He said, well, just go ahead and go with it. But we may send it to Bank B. Yeah, that could be a problem, friend. And I briefly, without getting into a lot of details, stayed professional, briefly explained to him that if this report was going to Bank B, I was going to walk. And the reason I'm going to walk is because Bank A had no issues with my appraisal to begin with. Bank B, on the other hand, had some issues with my appraisal. I didn't go into the details with the borrower as to what the issues were. Again, I didn't feel like that was my place, and I certainly was not trying to disparage Bank B, and there's a reason I'm using Bank A and Bank B here instead of actual names. Again, I have a good relationship with both clients right now, and I want to maintain that good relationship with both clients. But here was a situation that could have gotten sticky. In his mind, he can basically shop this appraisal around. I immediately, upon leaving the property, had my office contact Bank A, our client, explain the situation, explain to them that if this was going to go through a review with Bank B, that we were not going to move forward. They had a compliance officer call me directly, and I talked to that individual, and she said, I think it is probably best if we come to a mutual agreement at this point. And I basically said, the mutual agreement that I would have is let's just call the whole thing off. Now, folks, we're talking about a $1,700 fee that honestly is not going to take me very long. My per hour on this was going to be through the roof. I don't think there's been any sales in the last 6 months that we could quote unquote call comparable to this property. Certainly I'm going to do my due diligence and check them, and certainly I'm going to add to my file and beef it up this time to make sure that we're covered. But the bottom line is there's really not much work involved here to do this appraisal a second time. But I walked. And I walked simply because the spidey senses on the back of my neck stood up and said, don't be stupid, Dustin. Now, I know every appraiser has had this experience, okay? Now, here's the funny thing about spidey senses. Sometimes they're right, and I would say a lot of times they're right. If you've read the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, you'll know that there is scientific evidence that shows that that gut reaction that you have to something is right more than 50% of the time, a lot more than 50% of the time. Sometimes I'm wrong. I've had situations where on site, I have had my spidey senses go up and say, this could be a problem. Something the borrower said, something that happened, something that I saw. My experience throughout 2 decades of appraising says, you know what, this could be an issue. This could be something that eventually ends on the desk of the state board or in front of a judge or, on an angry realtor's radar. A number of different things could go wrong with this. And sometimes I choose to go forward and sometimes I don't. And sometimes I'm completely wrong. Sometimes those spidey senses pop up in the back of my head and say, guess what? This could be a problem. And it never is. That happens. In this situation, I'll be honest with you, folks. I'm going to be completely vulnerable here. $1,700 was a big deal. Again, probably would have taken me 2 to 3 hours, including inspection on this puppy. Start to finish, 2 to 3 hours, and I would have felt good about the report that we kicked out. Could have changed differently if I found some other sales, but I never even got to that point, okay? The fact is you do the math on that. Let's just say it's 4 hours, okay? That's more than $400 an hour, folks. Now, like, I understand that's gross. I understand that I've got a staff to pay and overhead and that kind of a thing. I get it. But still, folks, that's a pretty hefty chunk of change. Why did I walk away? Well, I walked away because there was an issue before, and there was a sense that there could be an issue in the future. And mutually, I love Bank A, by the way. Thank you, Bank A, for calling me and talking with me about this in a professional manner and saying, let's consider doing something else different here. That pushed me in the right direction, and I felt like I made the right decision in walking away from this deal. Does it sting that $1,700 is down the drain? Yes, it does. But folks, let me tell you something. Again, the title of this podcast is No Amount of Money is Worth Being Stupid. Now, it could have been very well that I could have done the appraisal and absolutely nothing would have occurred. It would have sailed through. I would have got my $1,600 check. I would have been happy as a clam and moved on to the next deal. That could have probably, actually, I would say 75% chance that would have been the case. But let's talk about, just for a second, the 25%. 25% chance that this could have really turned sour, that this could have gone south very fast, and I could have spent a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of restless sleeps trying to deal with a problem that was probably easier just to walk away from. So, I will tell you this. I am a little bit stung that I've missed out on a $1,700 fee on a very easy assignment. I am very relieved that I'm going to sleep well tonight knowing that I don't have to worry about this appraisal looming over my head. Moral of the story, as my mom used to say. Moral of the story here is remember who you are. Remember that you are an independent fee appraiser for a reason. You have independence to be able to make decisions that sometimes are really hard to make, but sometimes may be in the best interest of you and your career. Sometimes you'll make the wrong decision. Sometimes you'll go forward and you shouldn't have. I've had complaints to the state board that completely came out of left field. And I've had other things that I thought for sure were going to cause problems with the state board and never heard a word. We can't always judge. But appraisers, listeners, if you get those spidey senses, do consider walking away, or do consider at least doing something a little bit different. Science will show that our biology as human nature, our ability to unconsciously feel what may or may not be right for us is actually scientifically proven. Listen to that. Listen to that little sense of saying, this is good or this is not. And feel free to walk away when you don't feel completely good about moving forward. Speaking about moving forward, how are you moving forward with your business? Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Are you ready to really learn the principles and the procedures and the meat and potatoes of what Dustin Harris does in his appraisal office and is willing to help you to do in yours? Well, folks, if you are not already a member of the Appraiser Academy, highly recommend that you jump on board. We're right in the middle of boot camp. I shouldn't say in the middle, we just barely started. But we're doing a boot camp, a 12-month boot camp, which is going to give you the basic fundamentals that will allow you to do more with your appraisal office. When I say do more, folks, I'm talking about work less, make more money. That's what it's all about. Check us out at theappraisercoach.com. Thank you again for putting up with the shaky camera and the crazy background noise of the highway as I cruise down the road. We'll see how this turns out. Give me some feedback. Was it okay? I could probably kick out a lot more podcasts if I could do it on the road. So we'll see how it goes. Give me some feedback. If it completely annoyed you, I promise I'll never do it again. Thanks for hanging in there, and we'll catch you next time.